Hello friends, today I am going to talk about Procure to Pay team. Procure to Pay team, in short it is called as P2P team and is one of the important team under the finance team. What I am going to cover in this video is what are the responsibilities of Procure to Pay team and what are the skill and competencies you require to be part of the Procure to Pay team. If you are new to the channel, I request you to subscribe to the channel. So let's begin. So let's try to understand what are the responsibilities of a P2P team. So broadly, if you see, there are 6 responsibilities, or you can say key responsibilities. Okay. The first one is invoice processing. So P2P team is responsible to process all the invoices which are issued by the vendor. Okay. The invoice can be for metal purchase or it could be for the service purchase. And once you process the invoice, the next responsibility is to make the payment to the vendors. Okay. So you will have payment terms based on each vendor. There will be a payment term, or you can say credit period. And within that credit period, the payment has to be made to the vendor. Third responsibility is accounts payable reconciliation. Okay. Always your books should be clean. So when I say clean means it should be reconciled with the vendor books so that you ensure that all entries or all invoices are posted on time. Next is payment dispute resolution. There could be different disputes between the vendor, so you have to ensure being part of the P2P team to have solutions for all these disputes. Then is process improvement. Obviously, process improvement is there for all teams. And the last is vendor communication. So these 6 are the minimum requirement. Okay. Many companies have other responsibilities as well. Like in few companies, the employee reimbursement portion, or you can say employee claims are processed by the P2P team as well. So let's understand in details for each category what are the key responsibilities the P2P team will have. So we will start with the first responsibility, that is invoice processing. First activity is verify invoice accuracy, right? Because you are the last door, or you can say last gate, because once you process, the second part is the payment, right? So if you do any wrong invoice processing, then you will end up with paying wrong amount to the vendor. So the first one is verify invoice accuracy. So check invoices for accuracy, completeness, and compliance with company policies and contractual agreement, right? And generally, this is called as three-way match. Your agreement, your receipt of goods, that is your GRR, and then IR, that is your invoice processing. All three should match. If the agreement says that you should buy four products, then you should only buy 4 products, and the invoice should be 4 products, right? It can't be for 5. Similarly, on the rate side also you need to check. If the rate per product is 50 rupees, the invoice should be 50 rupees. It can't be more nor it can be less. Second point, validate vendor information. Ensure vendor information such as name, address, tax ID, or you can say GST registration matches the company's vendor master data. So when you're processing before that, you see that you are recording the invoice in the right vendor master. It's not happened that a company has 4 branches in 4 states, and for one state, or you can say for example of Karnataka, you are accounting the transaction in Delhi, right? Then it will go to a wrong vendor, or you end up paying to the Delhi branch, right? So you have to ensure that the invoice what we are processing is for the right vendor master. Next is check for duplicate invoices. So verify that invoices are not duplicates and that payments are not made twice for the same invoice. Nowadays, there are a lot of ERP like SAP, Oracle, where the duplicate invoice will be triggered if you key the same invoice number, but as there are certain systems which may not trigger the duplicate invoice. So always have a check before you process an invoice. Route invoices for approval. So route invoices to authorized person for approval, ensuring that invoices are properly reviewed and authorized before payment. It should not happen that somebody has submitted the invoice directly to finance team and you process and make the payment. The user, or you can say the business who is receiving the material or the service, has to acknowledge that they have received the goods and services. Second part is payment processing. So once you process the invoice, the second responsibility is to make the payment on time. So manage payment runs, coordinate payment runs, ensuring that payments are made on time and in accordance with the company policy and contractual agreement. Many company they don't pay every day. They have certain days. Like for example, few company they pay on Friday, few company they pay on Monday. So as part of P2P team, you have to ensure that all invoices are processed on time and the payment is released on time and there is no delay in making the payment. Verify payment details and process payment. So verify payment details such as payment amounts, payment date, payment methods to ensure accuracy and compliance. Process payment through various payment methods such as checks, electronic funds, transfer and all that. Nowadays, many company they avoid to make payment through checks because it take time to reach the vendor and it creates a lot of issues while doing the bank reconciliation. So many companies prefer to do online payment check. But as in certain countries or in certain locations, the check works better. So it depends on the company how to make the payment. So as part of P2P team, you should be aware of the processes. Next responsibility is accounts payable reconciliation, and this is very important for the P2P team. One is that you get the invoice and you process and make the payment, but how you are ensuring that you are receiving all the invoice on time? How you are ensuring that the payment what you're making, your vendor is knocking off that invoice on right time? So payable reconciliation is very important. So the first point here, what I want to explain is reconciliation vendor statement. So reconcile vendor statements to ensure accuracy and completeness of payments made. So you have to ask the vendor to share the account statement from their ERP, and then you have to reconcile from your books. Investigate discrepancies. Investigate discrepancies between vendor statement and company records and resolve issues promptly. So if there is any difference between your books and their books, then you have to ensure that those rectification is done. Sometimes it may happen that you have made payment for invoice number X, but the vendor has applied that cash for invoice number Y. So what will happen now? You will show that it is closed, you are paid, and he'll be showing that it is still open, right? So there will be difference. So vendor reconciliation will help you to investigate the issues and then take action on that. Maintain audit trails. So maintain audit trails of reconciliation activities to ensure transparency and accountability. So all the reconciliation what you do, you save it properly and have a audit trail, because any rectification entry what you post after the reconciliation will be verified by the management team or by your statutory or internal auditors. Next responsibility is payment dispute resolutions. So investigate payment disputes raised by vendors, including discrepancies in payment amounts or payment dates. So for example, if you have deducted excess TDS or you have charged some penalty, the vendor will question back to you, right? Because you are applying a wrong rate or you have applied a wrong penalty. So always ensure that this type of disputes are resolved and vendor is aware of it. Next is gather supporting documentation. So gather supporting documentation such as invoices and payment records to resolve payment disputes. You should have all the proofs, right? If somebody challenges saying that I have not received the payment, but you should have all the backup documents to prove that your invoice is processed, your payment run has happened, and the payment has been debited from the bank. So all this documentation has to be properly maintained. Escalate complex disputes. Escalate complex payment disputes to management or other stakeholders for resolution. Sometimes it may happen that a rate change has happened, but the PO was not updated. So when the PO is not updated and a higher rate of invoice is received, you can't process it because the rate is not matching with the PO. In that case, you have to talk to respective procurement team or management team, sort it out, ensure that the invoice is correct, and then you make the payment. So you will be leading from the front, ensuring that any type of dispute with the vendors has a solution as soon as possible. Next responsibility is process improvement. This is very important whether you work in P2P or in O2C or in R2R. Process improvement is very important in the current world. So identify process improvements, identify opportunities to improve P2P processes, including automating manual tasks or streamlining payment processes, right? Sometimes it may happen that the invoice what you receive, it takes a lot of time, right? The vendor will be giving to business will be verifying and then handing over to finance. By the time it reaches finance, it is due for payment. So you have to ensure that how this process can be optimized, how the process can be more efficient so that you receive the invoice on time so that the payment can be released to vendor on time so that you can avoid any interest and penalty. Develop process improvements. Develop and implement process improvements, including changes to policies, procedures, and technology. So wherever required, if there is any need of change, then you have to see how you can change that so that end of the day your vendor doesn't face any issue in processing the invoice nor getting the payment on time. Communicate process changes. Yes, if you're changing a process, it's your role and responsibility of the P2P team to communicate to each stakeholder so they are aware of the process change. So communicate process change to stakeholders, including vendors, employees, management, right? Coming to the last responsibility, that is vendor communication, because you are the people who are responsible to communicate to the vendor, or you can say that vendor interacts with you whenever they have any doubt, they want any clarification, so you have to be very clear in your communication. So the first is respond to vendor inquiries. Respond to vendor inquiries including questions about payment status or invoice processing. Second is communicate payment information. Sometimes it may happen that you have made a bulk payment and they don't know the invoice wise breakup, right? So you have to communicate them saying that okay, these are the invoices, this is the amount of TDS detected, and this is the amount what is finally released, right? Based on your payment advice, or you can say payment details, they will clear that payment from their books of accounts. Manage vendor relationship is very important. So you have to build trust with the vendors so that when you communicate, they trust you and they rely on your information. You understood now what are the role and responsibility of a P2P team in an organization. Now, what I am going to discuss is that if you want to be part of the P2P team, what are the minimum skills required so that you can fit to the P2P team? So here are the few minimum requirements. One is the technical skill, second is the business skill, third is soft skill, and the last one is education qualification, right? So I'll talk more in brief in upcoming slides for each of these bullet points. So let's understand in details. First one is technical skills. So accounting and data analysis knowledge. So you should be familiar with accounting policies, practices, and regulation. Ability to analyze data and create reports, right? So if you don't know accounting, you don't know how the entries has to be posted, or you don't know how to reconcile the vendor statements, then it will be quite challenging. So you should know the basic accounting plus some advanced level where it relates to vendor. Procurement systems, yes, experience with procurement systems such as ERP system, SAP, Oracle, or procurement software like Copa or Ariba, and other P2P systems. So you have to be well versed with all the systems so that you can operate it with less guidance. Then Microsoft Office, so proficiency in Microsoft Office applications, mostly like Excel, Word, and Outlook. Excel is more required because when you do reconciliation or you do any type of data analysis, then Excel will help you in preparing the reconciliation. You need not be well versed with all advanced formulas, but all the basic formulas like VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, and all that, which will help you to do, or maybe a pivot table, those will help you to prepare the reconciliation and analysis. Second is business skills. So procurement policies, knowledge of procurement policies, procedures, regulation. This is very much required. It's not that only you get a PO and process the invoice. You should know that the controls which are around the PO. You know, if there is a rate change, who can change it, right? Who are the authorized people who can modify that? So you should know that, because if something wrong is happening in the organization, for example, somebody is trying to do some fraud, you are the first person who can raise the hand and tell that something is going wrong, right? So you should know all the policies specifically related to the procurement part. Contract management, again, it more about PO or agreements what the company is placing to the vendors. So understanding the contract management principles, practices, what are the basic conditions the company gives to the vendors, what are the terms and conditions given to the vendors. So payment terms, or you can say inco terms, all these will be in the contract. So you should know more about the contracts what you are having with the vendor. Then financial analysis, ability to perform financial analysis and provide insights. Next skill is soft skill, which is very important. Whether you are working in any team, accounting, finance, any team, soft skill is very important. So the first thing is communication, effective communication skills, including written, verbal, presentation skill. So you should know how to talk to your juniors, to your seniors, or to your peer members, or to vendors. Second, collaboration, ability to collaborate with stakeholders, including management, auditors, other teams, vendors, right? You should collaborate and work. Third is time management, because you will have lot of pressure whenever you get high amount of invoice. So you should ensure that how you prioritize, right? So time management more is towards the prioritization of your work. So ability to manage time effectively, including prioritizing tasks, meeting deadlines, and managing multiple projects. Fourth is problem solving. Sometimes I have seen that people have a problem and they don't know whom to reach out. They don't know how to attack that problem. So strong problem solving skills, including analytical and critical thinking. You should have a depth knowledge. You should understand the logics. Okay. You should know the right person whom you should reach out when there is a specific kind of problem. Right. Then the last is certification and education. I have seen in this profile in India mostly they prefer chartered accountants. Again, it depends on the size of the organization. But as most of the people, those are like BCom or you can say MCom or CA Inter or those are SCCA. They also are well fit to this position and they get job in the P2P side. Coming to the last part, competencies. I'll be talking more about the P2P team senior role, what competencies they have. Obviously, for the junior team, I talked about the skills required. But as when you are in the senior role, you are managing a team, what are the competencies you should have to drive the P2P team? The first one is strategic thinking and planning, ability to develop and implement strategic plans, including financial planning, budgeting. Okay, so even though you are part of P2P, even you should have a knowledge of financial planning and budgeting because you can correlate, how the payments are going, how we are treating the open POs, right? If there is a budget cut down, whether the POs has to be deferred for some time. So you should have knowledge. You may not be directly involved in taking the decision about that, but you should be knowing what happens when there is a budget cut or what happens when there is a financial planning, right? Because when you discuss the purchase team or any other stakeholders, you should be able to understand what they are talking about the business model changes. Second is leadership and management, ability to lead and manage teams. So this is general. If you're leading a team, you have to motivate the team, provide clarity during tough situations, right? Third is change management and implementation, ability to manage and implement change, including process improvements and financial system implementation. Coaching and development, ability to coach and develop team members, including financial skills development and leadership development. Right. So P2P is really a good area to start your career if you're looking for a new job because it gives you complete understanding of the business because each and every payment what goes from the company it's routed through P2P team. Right. So sometimes people think that why should I go and process invoice? My suggestion that if you process the invoice, you know business better than any other team members. So it's up to you. But my suggestion that if you get a chance anytime to work in P2P, you can switch to that profile and learn more about the business, more about the process. Because when we say accounting process, 90% or 80% of the accounting process relate to P2P. Okay, so that's it from my side. If you are new to the channel, request you to subscribe to the channel, and if you have not subscribed, request you to subscribe. Share this video with your friends who are looking for P2P job. Thank you.